Okay.
For you that don't know me, my name is Cecil Carner. I'm a senior member of Sharpe Baptist Church. My family and myself haven't been members here too long, but we found nothing but love for this church. About 6 to 7 years ago, in an August night, in Donaldson Baptist Church, I found the Lord, or He found me. R.B. Hooks was holding a revival, and I walked down the aisle and took him by the hand and asked him what I had to do to be saved. If you went back to that church today, I think you'd find my fingerprints on the back of that pew there where I was standing, because it was the last night of the revival, and I knew I had to make a decision. He guided me through the steps of how to become a Christian, and I told him that's what I wanted to do. It's not what I do, it's what I have to do. It's not what I have to do, it's what I do, what I do, what I do. And that's what I know, what I know. And I know tonight, if I died, I'd go to heaven and meet Jesus, and what a glorious meeting that would be. My history as far as how I become a Christian is not much different than any other. I didn't hear any shouting or anything unusual going on that night, other than a young boy accepting the Lord. In the last few weeks or few months, some tragic things have been going on in my life. My father, my grandfather, my grandmother, my aunts, and my uncles, and now my sister have either died or are in nursing homes as Alzheimer's. And I was scared to death. That's where I was headed. When I went to the nursing home at Calvert City, I don't have to tell you how scared I was. I couldn't remember things. I was dropping things. I was falling all over the world. I couldn't remember my son coming down and picking me up off the floor at night. I couldn't remember going into a closet thinking it was a bathroom. I couldn't remember any of those things. And after I'd been in the nursing home for a couple of weeks and begging everybody to take me home, my son become, I think, a little bit agitated, because every time he'd come, I'd beg him to get me out. My wife would come and I'd ask her to get me out. But you know, on a Tuesday night, the second week I was there, I prayed to God that He would just take over and take care of me. And from that night on, I knew that He would do that, because something wonderful happened that night. I hadn't been able to remember things. I hadn't been able to go back in time. And that night, out of the clear blue, I remembered the 14th chapter of John and the first verse. It says, "Not let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, and there where I am, there you may be also. And I will come again and receive you unto myself." And I thought, boy, you hit it gucky. God's going to take care of you, and He's going to watch over you. And I turned it all over to Him. The next day my wife came to see me, and I'd been begging her to get me out. She went to the nurse's station before I had a chance to talk to her and tell her the decision I'd made, and she talked to the nurse as she usually did to find out how I was doing, which had been up to that point, hadn't been good. She came back to where I was sitting and she said, "You're going home." And I said, I can't go home. And she said, you can't go home. What do you want to do? And I said, it's not what I want to do, it's what I have to do. I have to stay till I can take care of myself. I can't be a burden to you. And you said, well, the doctor's already signed the paper. My wife said, the doctor's already signed the papers, and she won't reverse it. And I said, she has to let me stay. And she said, well, my wife said, before I go back and talk to her, I want you to talk to your son. So she called Tim at work. And Tim said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, it's not what I want to do, son, it's what I have to do. I can't make her mother sick by letting her do everything for me. And I have to stay until I be able to do for myself. And he said, well, go up to the desk and tell them what you want to do. And I said, they won't listen to me. They have to listen to somebody else. So I gave the phone back to Mom. And Shirley went back to she said, well, I'll go back and talk to her and see what she'll do. And she went back to the Dr. Wilder. And Dr. Wilder said, well, he'll change his mind in 30 minutes. But you know what? I didn't. And I stayed for another 2 weeks, because when the doctor examined me and entered me into the hospital, she said, what are your goals? And I said, tomorrow. And she said, oh, let's be realistic, let's go for a month. And I said, that's what I want to do, is stay for a month. So when the doctor signed the paper that I could go ahead and stay, and Tim told me on the phone, he said, you may never get out. I said, I know that, but if I don't, that's okay, but I can't go home this way. So I went back, and Mom came back and told me that she said I could stay. It was the saddest day and the happiest day of my life. It was a day that I never wanted to do, but it was something I had to do. I met some fantastic people there. I met Johnny and Jimmy and Mr. Birdsong and Mr. Cedar and Mr. Cherry and some different people that I promised to pray for. I met some nurses that do great work, and I promised to pray for them too. So you see, I'm here tonight because some people took care of me, and people that cared for me, and most of all, my family. My family, I have a wonderful family. I have a son that does everything I ask him to do and goes beyond. And if you don't know him, you should get to know him. My wife is a wonderful person. She was there every other day. And she is a person that doesn't want to take credit for anything. But she's a person that, one of the greatest people I've ever known. And you should know her better. You know, as I sit here and try to make this tape, I can think about a lot of things that I want to say, but I don't have time. You know, if I had time, I could tell you about different things that happen and different things going on, but I don't have that much time. You see, cut it off. Stop it for a minute. This is a great church. There's some great people in this church. Some people that came to see me. Some people that wrote cards. And there was one lady that came to see me one night, and I had taken a sleeping pill. And I didn't really realize who she was or what she was until after it was over. And she said, she said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm doing okay. And she said, if you need more time, that's no problem. And I said, well, I've got to go home because we can't afford to pay what the charges are after the Medicare runs out. And she said, don't worry about that. We'll take care of the charges. And I said, no, you talk to Shirley and you talk to Tim, because I don't really know what I'm talking about. So, you know, of all the people and all the people I met and all the people here at this church, I want to thank you, and I want to pray for you, and I want you to pray for me, and pray that I don't go back to the hospital, and that I can go back to this church and say hallelujah because I've come home. Thank you very much.